think what Ed says about it being early is absolutely true. People forget that in 1979, at this time, in September, Ronald Reagan had not even announced that he was going to be a candidate. He didn't announce till November of that year, barely 1 year before the actual election. Now everything seems to have been moved up in people's thinking, but I think a lot could happen. In 1979, 1980, there was a very strong bench of candidates that were running, and Ronald Reagan actually lost the first caucus, was in some trouble, and it was by no means a sure thing that he would even be the nominee, let alone win the election. So I think a lot could happen between now and, say, next March, when I think by that time we probably will have a better idea after we've gone through some primaries. I think Ed, if you had to take a snapshot right now, I think Ed probably has the right thing, but I would not put it beyond possibility that that whole situation could change over the next 6 months.
I think it's important to emphasize that the United States, given its economy at the moment and the high levels of unemployment, that the focus of all of the candidates, Republican and presumably the sitting president, will be on domestic issues. A number of the Republican candidates haven't, as far as I know, even put together foreign policy teams other than perhaps one or two people. This is an open question. As far as I know, none of the candidates have put out any elaborate set of policy positions with respect to any kind of foreign policy, much less the details of the Asia Pacific. I think we have to trust to the momentum that we have, to the strength of the Taiwan Relations Act, to the broad appeal that it's had for a long time, and expect that this is not going to be a contentious issue in the American presidential campaign, and that it's something that people of Taiwan can watch with great interest. But I don't think that there's any necessity now for them to be fearful about one result or another.
I think you mentioned the American economy. I think this is very critical at this stage. I think the status of the American economy needs growth. Okay? If we don't see good growth in the United States in the near future, we are really worried we're going to see another worldwide recession. So it's so critical, so important for America to lead us to growth. Only growth can take us out of this potential recession.
That's certainly true, and I think most all the candidates recognize that. On the other hand, as the campaign goes forward, it is important that the people of the United States find out what their views are on foreign policy, because when you come right down to it, with the exception of the unusual economic situation we're in right now, the principal way by which most presidents are judged is what they do on foreign and defense policy and how they protect the national security of the United States and our allies. So I think you're going to hear much more about that as we get into next year. Although I agree with Jim that the economy is going to be a major issue.
Yes, I think speaking of elections, Taiwan's presidential and legislative elections are scheduled for January of next year. But rather than discussing who might win or lose, it is always a pleasure for Taiwan to celebrate our cherished treasures of democracy, freedom, and human rights. On both sides here, we are proud of what we have achieved. So my question is, how does Taiwan go forward into the future, upholding what we believe in, not compromising, and how does America help us upholding our common beliefs and principles? Is America still ready to play the role of the champion of freedom and democracy around the world?
I think America still is, and I think as a champion of freedom and democracy, I think they will be fully behind the people of Taiwan. We've talked about that today in terms of the Taiwan Relations Act, the assurances and that sort of thing, and I think that that situation is not going to change.
It's not only a case of democracy, Winston, it's also a case of active citizen participation.
Okay.
And that's been so encouraging to those of us who come to Taiwan frequently to see citizen involvement all around the country in terms of the political process. And again, you have come so far in the years since I first started coming here, and just to recognize what great progress has been made is very, very heartening too for all of your American friends. And you really are here in Taiwan a guiding star for the rest of Asia, because Korea and Japan had post-war situations where they kind of automatically followed an American example. Here it took a while to get where you are, but both in terms of economic freedom and now in terms of a very robust political system, it's very, very encouraging to us to see the progress you've made.
Please, Mr. Secretary Kerry.
The example is the important part. The modalities, the details for Taiwan have to be decided by Taiwanese people themselves. This is what one would expect. This is what people want. Where the principal phase has been passed, and as Dr. Filner points out, the vitality and the interest of individual Taiwan people. In a way, you're exemplifying this yourself by setting up this YAM TV here in Tainan. There is a kind of a north-south gap in Taiwan. It's not as large a country as many, but it's an important signal that this country needs to have. And so involving people of the South more, having development perhaps intensified in some way in the south of Taiwan is going to be a part of this process. But this is up to you and up to the people who live here now more than before. But you cannot expect, and you should not expect, that America is going to turn its back on 200 plus years of history and democratic development. We have our own problems to be solved, and we're going to work on them.
Mr. Johnson.
I agree. I think America is going to continue to act as a leader in the struggle for democracy and human rights around the world. But I also think it's important for Americans to understand that we're not going this alone, and there are other people like you and your countrymen who are also just as committed as Americans are to those same principles of democracy and human rights and freedom. So as we move forward in our relationship, and as we get new members of Congress who have not been exposed to your system and your people and your leaders here, to continue to interact and continue to communicate with our leaders and our people to help them understand that we're in this together and our systems are very much alike, and our friendship is going to endure as a result of that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Mr.
Winston,
Schaffer?
thank you. Because America's facing tough times, shouldn't be misread to see us as going anywhere but continuing in the direction of Taiwan. We're still hand in hand. We're not going anywhere. We're not dropping you. We're not running away from our commitments. We're just grappling with a lot of static, a lot of tough choices in America. But one of those choices is not whether to abandon friends. And one of those choices is not to abandon our core beliefs and principles of freedom, democracy. And I think the advice that I'd give, and I think relates to the complaints that we hear from our Taiwanese friends, are that your elections are too expensive and too loud here. But I would say, the louder the better. Stay loud. The noise gets attention. You take elections in Hong Kong, for example. No noise, no freedom, no real democracy. The quieter, the better. That's Beijing's way. So Washington is a different place than when the TRA was passed. It's much busier. There's much more information flow. So stay loud and proud of what you're doing. The more your TV station can make noise, the better the chances are that this will have a great outcome, these elections and our future.
Thank you very much today. I think, thank you very much, Dr. Ferner. Thank you very much, General Mies. Thank you, Secretary Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Joe Johnson. Thank you, Mr. Ken Schiffer. I think friendship are most vividly surfaced and vividly felt in tough times. I think we both face very tough times right now. United States in its economy and also Taiwan as well. I think world economy looming with danger, and sees a leadership has to come from United States. So I think we are very grateful to you. I think in this TV station today, we have the opportunity to have a panel not only of experts in Taiwan-US relations, we have a panel of people who are actually our saviors during our worst times back in 1979. I wonder and hate to think what would happen to Taiwan without the Taiwan Relations Act. So we are forever indebted and forever grateful to everybody in this panel today. And hopefully your friendship to Taiwan and our shared values with the founding fathers of the United States, and I think the founding fathers of Republic of China share the same values. Our people share the basic same values. So with this same value, we go forward together, especially during hard times. That we are together and the bond will be even stronger during hard times. And our panel of good friends and experts shows that here. And this is, I hope, the only beginning in the first ever station in Taiwan, located in Tainan, outside of Taipei. And we will, again, I ask Mr. Joe Johnson to be, for your more advice on how to run a local station. It'd be most appreciated. And all of you present in Tainan in the future will be most appreciated. Thank you very much for today. Thank you very much indeed.